Good afternoon, my name is Laura Nodolf, and it has been my honor and pleasure to serve as your district attorney since being elected in 2016. I joined the district attorney's office in 2003, and during that time I have served as a misdemeanor prosecutor, a felony prosecutor, a trial team chief, first assistant district attorney, trying over combined 200 cases with both bench and jury trials, with over 100 jury trials that are not just low-level offenses. We are talking complex murder cases, complex cases that involve children, complex cases that involve human trafficking. I have the experience leading an office that consists of over 20 attorneys, that has 13 investigators and 20 members of support staff. And the combination of those two things together have allowed for me to stand on the foundation that was set before me, and to build on it by increasing victim services, increasing needs of... Thank you very much.
Ms. Morris.
Hi, I'm Michelle Morris, and I would never stand before you and argue that I have the kind of trial time that my opponent does. She's done a lot of trials in her office. However, I believe that I am qualified to be our next district attorney because I was born here. I was brought here at a very young age, went to kindergarten through high school here. I grew up here. Midland is my home. You are my people, and I want, with all of me, to be of service to you. I believe that I can be a good part of this county by working in the district attorney's office. I do know my way around the courtroom. I have a law license in Texas, New Mexico, and the state of Washington. And I am a certified negotiator, and I believe that the district attorney's office is the largest law firm in the county, and someone with a management degree such as myself should be running that law firm as a managing partner, handling both the civil and the criminal matters. Thank you.
For Ms. Nodolf, Ms. Morris, you're wanting to be the chief law enforcement officer of the county with a budget of around $3 million. How does your resume show you are qualified?
Thank you, Teresa. I am qualified to work in a business that has a budget. I've worked as in-house counsel for many years for some extremely large firms and businesses, and anybody that would try to tell you that they can do a $3 million budget and run a company that has that large of a budget by themselves is kidding themselves. Everybody who works in that kind of a budget has to have help. They have to have accountants to crunch the numbers, but they have to have a strong leader to keep matters flowing, keep departments within budget, and everybody on track, spending those dollars while always being mindful in this particular instance that the budget is comprised with taxpayer money. And so I am definitely qualified to do this job. My resume shows it by the number of different kinds of entities and firms that I've worked for and with. And I've also been involved back when I was quite young in helping to manage one of Midland's largest law firms by working with the managing member of the department in that firm. So my resume, I'd be happy to talk to anyone about it at any time, definitely does show that I'm qualified to do this job. Thank you.
For Ms. Nodolf, how have you budgeted your discretionary funds, such as the hot check fund, the pretrial diversion funds that take pressure off of the general fund? Have you been able to keep the commissioners apprised of the use of those funds with their approval?
Yes, absolutely. The Midland County District Attorney's Office has several discretionary funds. We have a hot check fund, pretrial intervention fund, a LEOS fund, that's a law enforcement education fund. We have a victim donation fund, as well as a bomb dog donation fund. Any of those funds that are spent out of those accounts cannot be spent unless we have actually gone to court and received the permission of the Commissioner's Court, and it has to be an item that's budgeted. There's a budget that is set for each one of those accounts. The two primary ones, and asset forfeiture as well. The two primary ones, pretrial intervention, those funds are primarily used to be able to, and they're set in the budget and tell the commissioners exactly what we want to use them for, and those can only be used for the operation of that program. And our hot check funds, we have to show public good. We have to show that we're not going to go buy a margarita machine or something like that. We have to show that the funds are going to benefit the public as a whole. And the same applies for our asset forfeiture funds. And so we can't go grab a check and write it to ourselves if we want to. No, we have to stand before the commissioners and say, these funds that we want to expend are getting the approval, and the commissioners are telling us, yes, you have a public good use of those funds. And if they don't feel that it's a good use of the public funds, or it's not for the public good, they can tell me no. And those funds will sit in those accounts and can't be touched. I've been audited by our Midland County auditor, never failed an audit. Been audited by the state of Texas with our asset forfeiture funds, never failed an audit. Every dollar that the taxpayers have put into our budget, our discretionary funds, is accounted for 100%.
Ms. Morris, you have hot check and pre-trial diversion funds coming into the office that are not monies appropriated to you, such as general funds. What do you do with that money?
That money that comes into those funds is obviously coming into the office for a specific reason, and I think that Ms. Nodolf just answered a large portion of the question. And since I've never been in that office and seen the needs, what those funds are for, I can't answer that question completely today, but what I can tell you is that I think those funds should be accounted for, and those accountings should be available to the public and not just to the Commissioners Court. I believe that if we're going to add fees, charges, extra money to money that needs to come in from either convicted criminal, someone who's on probation, anybody having any connection with the court, I believe 100% that Ms. Nodolf has approached those with honesty and with goodness, but I also don't think that that's been accounted for to the public. And that's one of the major changes that I would make in the office, is that all those funds should have accounting ready and available to the public anytime that they ask, regardless of whether the expenditures have been approved or disapproved. And I don't necessarily believe just anybody should have input into how that money is spent. The legislature has designated how much of that money is to be spent. But I do think if I'm spending your money, I should answer your questions about how that money is spent. Thank you.
Ms. Nodolf, you've heard Ms. Morris's assertion that those funds and the accounting of them is kept secret. Would you explain what the situation is, and are they kept secret?
Thank you very much. So they are not kept secret. In fact, I brought a copy of them with me today. If you would like to see an accounting for what's in our budget and all those different accounts, this can be obtained from the Midland County website. Out of the budget itself, I have to tell the public and the commissioners how I want to spend these funds. And so that's why I even brought a copy with me today, because we are transparent in the use of our funds. We are transparent to anybody who wants to ask me how those funds are spent. I will be happy to sit down